Welcome in the latest episode of the Bet and Pitch Soccer Podcast. I'm your host, Real_G Warner. Late night with Real_G Warner, as always. But tonight's episode, we're going to go through a single match in the English Premier League, as there is an FA Cup coming that I think is pushing some matches forward. Plus, a big part of this episode will be on the Spanish La Liga's, I think, second to last match day, with permutations, all these sort of things to talk about, especially with the standings. Also, we'll go through a single match in Italy for the Coppa Italia, basically covering as much as I can midweek before France and Germany end this weekend. And then, of course, we get ready for really what's coming down the pipe, as there's a lot of soccer coming up. A lot of questions about who cares, and you may not, but ultimately there's money to be made when you can figure out what lineups will look like or get an idea of who's got something to play for and who doesn't. Would be very cautious, especially this late in the season. If you've been really a long time at the Real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, YouTube, anywhere you see it. Also, the Betting Pitch Podcast, Apple Podcast, and on Spotify. We do really well towards the end of the season because it's really something I've learned that you got to really trust what standings say as opposed to how good a team's been all season. I have fond memories or less fond memories of learning how to do this when Cadiz, for example, in Spanish La Liga were dead, but were fighting for something. And then they would face one of the better teams like Real Betis or something like that last weekend of the season or last couple weeks. And Betis had nothing to play for, already clinched in Europe. And then Cadiz will win as the favorite, which we want to be careful about those and try to find, as always, the best unders and underdogs. Sorry to the longtime Patreon subscriber, patreon.com/Real_G Warner, Joe Dollar. He wants me to bet on the favorites and the overs, but that is just not where I will ever end up. Sorry, Joe. So let's get to, we'll start in England with Manchester City, 2-goal favorites to Crystal Palace. Total in this one is 3.5, and it's used very heavily to under. And you might think, well, why is that the case? Well, it's because Crystal Palace has, sold all their talent for years and years and years. Their manager's leaving end of season. They have other things that they played a long, long season in the Europa Conference League, which might also be a reason why this match is pushed up. But a lot of things go in that direction while Manchester City is trying to win the Premier League. So those are things that we need to be cautious about, things to think about. Yes, Crystal Palace look like a gigantic underdog, and there's certainly some value there. You could argue, but there's a lot that you got to then fight through. I think if anything, if you like Crystal Palace, you probably want to look towards that under 3.5. Big number. I love, especially when we get above 3, as it's a key number for me in soccer. Big push on 3, but you're even winning your bets on 3. So that's looks very interesting to me. Plus, I think there's also just generally some value potentially in Alva Glasner playing a really conservative brand of football, and I think that's what he'll do here. But I don't know that it'll make my card. Really, of course, you need to see lineups as I do in every matchup. That's why you should check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Real_G Warner. Download the app, turn on notifications. Every time I lock something in, you'll get a buzz. There's a lot to talk about here, and I think I'll, instead of going to La Liga, which I'll cover last, because I think there's clearly the biggest portion of this show, I'll instead go to the Coppa Italia now, which is playing on Wednesday as well as this Premier League match. So let's move there as I navigate as quickly as possible. And the match is being played in the Stadio Olimpico, as I'm trying to find where the heck this number is. All lines quoted courtesy of Bet Online. And we have Lazio, who are technically not the home team, but they're playing in their home stadium. Yes, they share it with Roma. There should be, I think, a pretty even split of tickets offered to both Lazio fans and to Inter Milan. You could argue Inter had a really disappointing season because the Champions League didn't go well, but they won the Scudetto. That's a bet that I made early in the season, told all my subscribers, everyone across all platforms, pregame, Patreon, anywhere you could read it, that they're going to win it. The best club in Italy. It's been that way for years and years and years, and I'm glad that it finally came through. But Inter have another chance to get another trophy, which 2 out of, I guess, 3 competitions wouldn't be so bad in a single season. Hard to do better than that. And I think it'd be successful first season for their debut manager, Cristian Chivu, who I think there's a lot of questions about, but honestly, he's done a fairly good job despite a really rough start to the season for Inter. But Champions League just didn't go as well for them as it did last year, though you could argue getting blown out in the final wasn't great. So Lazio currently 3/4 goal underdogs in their home stadium. You could argue it's not a home game. I guess I'm trying to think of, because I usually have a spreadsheet that tracks whether a team's home or away. And technically it's in their building. So I'll call them the home team, 3/4 goal underdogs. Total in this one, or excuse me, the spread is very juiced on the Inter Milan side because they're a much better club, of course. I think I'm interested to see if Lazio move to a 1-goal underdog because honestly, finals, especially with trophies on the line, as one of the few things ESPN FC seems to get right in the United States is they talk about how you don't play a final, you win a final. And it's usually an ugly game, and it plays really well into my hands as an under player. I'll put it that way. There will be an ultimate best bet coming into show, so stay tuned for that. But pretty interested in the under 2.5 years, even money, all the juice on 2.5 over. So we might see a move to 2 3/4 before kickoff. I'll certainly wait for that. It's always nice to lose only half your bet if it lands 3 and you lose by a half of a goal instead of the full thing. But we'll see where the numbers, and honestly, it really depends on lineups, I think, for that matchup. But that's probably all I want. I guess I'm interested in Lazio if they move to a full goal underdog. I don't know that that'll happen. I mean, certainly the juice is pointing that way. They're the inferior club, so maybe that happens. But for now, I think biggest interest for me in the Coppa Italia final, played at the Stadio Olimpico in Roma, which I've been to once. I do like under 2.5 in that matchup currently. So now we'll go to Spanish La Liga, and this is where I'll try to go through everything from start to finish and how it impacts the table. It's been one of the most competitive relegation runs of anybody really, or of any league I've seen, especially in La Liga. Bottom 3 teams go down, and we've got 3 match days left. So we got this match day play midweek because they took a weekend off for the Copa del Rey a couple weekends ago, which was stupid, but honestly looked incredibly fun, was extremely well attended, great tifos. Everyone in the crowd had some sort of color. Probably something I want to go to in the future, and I do love Sevilla, so I'd like to go back there as well. So we'll start with Celta de Vigo, and they are hosting Levante. Celta coming off a pretty good result on the road at Atletico Madrid, but you could argue Atleti have been playing backups for a very long time, finally didn't, and they played like backups. But Celta are currently in 6th position on 50 points. So they've 9 points left to play for, which could get them not all the way up to Atletico Madrid in 4th position, but could get them to pass Real Betis. And that's something to think about. Real Betis on 54 points could touch Atletico Madrid, but I think they're really most concerned with holding off or fending off Celta. So current number right now, and I guess I should go to the Levante side. Levante are currently second bottom of La Liga on 36 points. They're 3 points behind Girona, 1 point behind Alaves, but Alaves is in the relegation zone, automatic relegation, all bottom 3. No relegation playoff or anything like that. Espanyol on 39, Mallorca on 39, Elche on 39, Sevilla on 40, it's Valencia on 42, Osasuna on 42. So like they're in shooting range all the way up to even Athletic Club in 9th position on 44, tied with Real Sociedad, who are in 8th. So like technically they could catch all of them. I mean, it's not going to happen, but there's still something to play for both these clubs, and that does make it better to me because at least there's something on the line here. So Celta Vigo currently are half a goal favorites at home right now with all the juice, probably climbing towards 3/4 of a goal. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's used very heavily to over. Now, my concerns with newly promoted sides like Levante, who have struggled all season, are sitting in 19th out of 20 teams, bottom 5% percentile. They're going to have to win matches, and scoring goals is going to be hard because they're going to go all out in their defense, which has already conceded 57 goals, the most in La Liga. That's a concern for me, put it that way. That puts the under in danger. It honestly means Celta Vigo's defense has been really good away from home all season. I don't know that it's been that great at home, but it's more impressive to be better on the road. I don't give Levante a great chance here. Number smaller than I made it like because of their desperation. But Celta have something to play for. If Celta were just cooked and had nothing else for them to get, they're locked in somewhere, I'd like Levante a lot more. But for now, I don't like that much at this point. We'll next move to Real Betis hosting Elche. Betis already mentioned that Celta can try to catch them, so they got something to play for, which I guess should happen with 3 matches to go. Elche currently sitting in 14th position on 39 points, which is great because they've been so bad away from home so far this season, and here they are away from home. Spread in this one is Elche, a 1-goal underdog with all the juice. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's used very heavily to over. So 2 3/4 are likely out there, and that's what I'll use for this matchup. Elche have not been able to score goals away from home. They really play football, which is surprising for a newly promoted side, especially in Spain, that you just come in and try to park the bus the whole time. But Real Betis are also really good at playing football. They have been in Europe every year since I can remember. Saw them live in Europa League. They were in Europa Conference League a couple of recent years, but Europa League this year, and honestly crashed out of that competition in good position. I think level 1-1 on aggregate heading to the second leg at home, but ended up being eliminated in the quarterfinals, if I remember correctly. So this is a really tough matchup for Elche because they're a big underdog. They need a result. I mean, they're not in as grim of a position, but they're 2 points ahead of the last relegation spot. So a point is probably good to them away from home at Real Betis. I do worry that they're sending everything forward towards the end if they're down 1 goal, which makes that +1 a little bit more ominous than it usually would, but it's always that way. So I'll lean to Elche getting a full goal of insurance. Would love to get more than that. I don't think we will, but +1, it's a really important push. And sometimes it doesn't really matter how much juice you pay because it will save you in the long run. At least I'm willing to pay up for +1 versus 3/4 of goal underdog. Next, we'll go to the last matchup on Tuesday, May 12th, and that's Osasuna, a pick'em at home to Atletico Madrid. And this number has been on the move, seemingly more money being bet on Atleti because Osasuna were a bigger favorite, but you could argue that money bet on Atleti has been wasted so far this season, to say the least. I expect Osasuna to be an underdog, but that's a lot based on where these clubs are financially. Atletico Madrid, I mean, they could be caught by Real Betis, but can't be caught by Celta. Does it matter for them to finish third so they can finish above Villarreal? Probably not. And they didn't win the Copa del Rey final. They crashed out of the semifinals of the Champions League. I mean, they had some chances, had some opportunities. Brutal for them, but I think they might be a dead rubber. And honestly, Osasuna, who are sitting in 11th on 42 points, they're not safe yet. So only 5 points above that last relegation spot. Osasuna as a pick'em looks very, very interesting to me on Tuesday in the nightcap. We'll next go to the Wednesday matches. Start with Espanyol hosting Athletic Club. Athletic Club still not safe, unless there's just so many teams playing each other at the bottom that they can't possibly be passed. Espanyol only 2 points ahead of that last relegation position, so they got some work to do. And honestly have been kind of on a downward spiral for a long time after starting the season off very well, but that's kind of what happens with some of these clubs. Well, Espanyol are a pick'em with 4 cents more of juice, -112 to -108 on Athletic Club. Total this one is 2.5, juiced 1,000,000% to the under, so 2.25 is probably a more realistic number. I'm interested in Espanyol because they played really well at home over the past few seasons. Athletic Club have been, despite a really big name group. I did pick Barcelona to win La Liga. That cashed already, but Athletic Club are not going to finish in the Champions League position, so 1-1 on those, but plus money on both, so we profited for sure. But at the same time, I think Athletic Club have been one of the worst teams versus expectations in La Liga, and certainly versus mine. So I'm interested in Espanyol as a pick'em. I'll put that on my list for Wednesday. In that same starting window, we have Villarreal hosting Sevilla. Currently, Villarreal a half a goal favorite. All the juice is on Sevilla. Total in this one is 2.5, juiced very heavily to over. So Villarreal are in great position in third place. They can't really catch second place. They could catch Real Madrid, but does that matter? Could be caught by Atleti, but I don't know that they care that much. Sevilla on the other side, they have a lot more to play for on 40 points, only 3 points ahead of that last relegation position. So Sevilla should be much more motivated. They're a half a goal underdog. Away from home is going to be tough at the Pamesa, whatever the it's like a linoleum or the yellow color stadium is not what it is, but it's a construction company, I think, who owns Villarreal, or the owner owns a construction company. That's how he made his money. But Sevilla look very interesting because they have something to play for, and Villarreal arguably do not. Maybe they're playing for the most point total they have, or try to finish in second place. That'd be cool, but it's a long run for them. It's been a long season. They were horrible in Copa del Rey and in Champions League. So you could argue they're going out on top, but I feel like there's a good chance they're on the beach already, and makes it look like Sevilla is very interesting. Now, for the total at 2.5, it's about what I made it. I'm curious to see what Villarreal puts out there because I feel like their lineup has not been that strong as of late. I'll wait and see that one, but I do like Sevilla getting a half of a goal. To the 2 late games on Wednesday, Getafe, as I wear their kit, they're a half a goal favorite to Mallorca. All the juice on Mallorca, so it's more like quarter goal favorite. To say the least, around the rest of the market. Total in this one is 2, just a little bit more to over. And Getafe matches, I never expect to see goals because they never have them. Mallorca have been, I think, better since their manager change. They're a low-scoring team as well, so we'll see what that ends up looking like. But from my perspective, and I guess I should go to the table now, Getafe somehow, some way, sitting in 7th position on 45 points is amazing. Mallorca on the other side, they are in 15th on 39 points, just 2 points ahead of Alaves. You could argue that Getafe are trying to hold off Real Sociedad, but Real Sociedad are already going to the Europa League based on winning the Copa del Rey. Getafe are 1 point ahead of Athletic Club, so they're holding them off for the Europa Conference League, and that's a big, big step up and big for the money for Bordalas, who complains all the time, the manager for Getafe. So I think from my current, I guess, perspective, watching a soccer match in the background, and Pongracic is yelling at the ref, of course. What a surprise. Yeah. I mean, Getafe, they have no offense. It's amazing that they've done so well. Credit their manager and anti-football, but football, SOS football poppy. So there it is. This is football. I think the Mallorca side is very interesting to me just because I don't trust Getafe to score any goals. Quarter goal on the road in Madrid, tough for Mallorca coming off the island, but I'm very interested in under 2 because I don't see goals in that matchup. I don't think anyone does. Next, we'll go to Alaves. They're in the last relegation position, or the best of the 3, 37 points, 36 points, then 29. Real Oviedo are basically down. But Barcelona have already won La Liga. They're celebrating. They finally did something this year right, I guess. Got back to the top again, climbed the mountain. And they are only a half a goal favorite on the road, and it's very juiced. So more like quarter of a goal is probably the more appropriate number to use. For a total in this one, I got 3 at plus 110. So very juiced to the over. And that makes sense for Barcelona matches. But Alaves, in a pretty tough place to play as an underdog at home, are very interesting to me because they have everything on the line and Barcelona has nothing. So give me Alaves. I'll take that quarter of a goal. Lean to under 3.25 is probably where it finishes. I think I'm less interested in that, though, because I don't want to trust Barcelona defense when they have nothing to play for when it's been so bad all season. To Thursday, we have 3 matches, and then that'll close us out for this episode. Get you a best bet, ultimate best bet from the 3 leagues covered or 3 countries covered. And then I'll try to get an episode out there for pregame after this. But we'll start with Valencia hosting Rayo Vallecano. Currently, Valencia, half a goal favorite. All the juice is on Rayo away. Total in this one is 2.5, but it's usually a little bit more to over. So Rayo, great defense, been playing in Conference League. That's been certainly distracting them this season. But they've been fairly good, I think. 10th place on 43 points. Not completely out of the relegation mire, but doing their thing. Valencia on the other side in 12th on 42 points. They're all, I mean, everyone's fighting here, and that makes me think there's going to be some great defense, or at least some defenses that care, and I love that for unders. So like the quarter of a goal on Rayo Vallecano right now. I think I like under 2.5 even more, and that's an early start, which I also like in Spain. Last 2 matchups left to go. Girona, they're hosting Real Sociedad. Sociedad clinched a Europa League position. Want to finish higher, have been playing well, but I don't know if they're that motivated. Girona are half a goal favorites, though. All the juice is on Real Sociedad, so likely a quarter of a goal out there. Total in this one is 2.5, and it's used very heavily to over. We expect this to move to 2.75. That's the way Real Sociedad have played. Girona, I think, have been much better defensively this season, but a lot of that's because they haven't scored much offensively, and that's forced them into that type of way. I guess I'll lean to Real Sociedad just because, but I am very concerned that I have no idea what they're playing for, and that bothers me a lot. So that might kind of kill that, and totals are less interesting for me with both these clubs. So last match we'll get to is Real Oviedo visiting Real Madrid. Real Madrid finally dead and losing the La Liga officially against Barcelona in a Clásico is especially bad for them. I expect they'll be coming out angry, but honestly, at this point, who knows? Currently, Real Madrid 2-goal favorites. All the juice on Real Oviedo. Totals 3.5, juice pretty heavily to under. I mean, Oviedo, they did a great job to get back to La Liga after nearly closing as a club, and they had to get GoFundMe's or something like that. I think good job, Sid Lowe. But their trip back is going straight back down. We'll see how they do and how long they stay in the Segunda División. But it would be hilarious if they went out with a win on the road to the Bernabeu. That would keep them alive. You know they're going to fight They've been, I think, very impressive based on how poorly they started the year. And I'm kind of surprised they're in last position based on how they've looked to me compared to Levante so far this season. But I'll lean to +2 and I'll lean to under 3.5. And I don't know if either of those will make my card because I feel like, we could see Real Madrid's junior team, youth team, which, Vinny Jr. and Mbappe are just getting ready for the World Cup at this point. So that's certainly something interesting to look at, I think, in that matchup as well. So for the nominees for ultimate best bets, I already gave those out for the English Premier League and the Coppa Italia. So that probably means I should be plugging other things on this channel. I expect we'll do a Preakness episode for the Need for Steeds horse racing podcast. New to the channel, and I saw that there's plenty of people that are into it. A lot of actually live viewers, which I appreciate. Thanks for that coming in. Also want to address World Cup stuff coming up. I'm going all out, going to try to podcast a billion times about it. So if you got something you want to hear about, a prop, something that's out there that you're interested in, hit me up at @the_G Warner, or even better, if you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, it's called Betting the Pitch, or just in the comments on YouTube on the channel at @the_G Warner, Instagram at @the_G Warner, anywhere you can. And that'll help me to know exactly where I should focus, because I'm planning to go group by group. Got a lot of teams in there this year. I'm going to the Mexico City opener, and hopefully, and if anyone's there, holler, because it's going to be a great, great weekend. And Mexico City is one of my favorite places out there. So looking forward to that, and we'll talk to you all very soon coming up. But for the ultimate best bet portion of the show, let's go to the English Premier League. I like the under 3.5 Crystal Palace visiting Manchester City. In the Coppa Italia, I like under 2.5 Lazio and Inter. Likely 2 3/4 before kickoff on Wednesday, so I'd wait for that. As for the Spanish La Liga portion of the show, it's hard for me to look the other way from Osasuna. I pick them with something to play for, Atleti with nothing to play for, and I think we see a very good chance that Atleti are rotating, especially their World Cup players. Lookman probably plays. He's not doing anything for Nigeria, but very interested in Osasuna. And I'll make that my ultimate best bet for this episode. Osasuna, a pick'em at home in El Sadar in Pamplona, where they run the Bulls at home to Atletico Madrid. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back on the next one coming up real soon. Talk to you soon.